Hi guys, Gianu and welcome to the Middle Order. Today we've got a special show. We're going to be talking about the pitch in the recently concluded India v England third Test match. We've got Waqas Hussain, our usual host, Ijaz Hussain, and we have got some eye candy for the ladies in Shakeel Aslam as the independent consultant. Hopefully, he'll be a bit more useful. The last guy that we had on was about as useful as a petrol station for Tesla owners. So I'm going to kick off by asking Waqas Hussain what he thought of the pitch.
The pitch, well, I don't know why we're talking about the pitch. The pitch was brilliant. We got a great test match out of it, a result, an even contest, or should I say, at least between the teams. The toss didn't play a part. Everything you want in a good pitch. Perfect.
Ijaz, your views on this pitch?
Completely opposite to what Waqas is saying. Great. I don't see what was great about that at all.
Shakeel Aslam, making your debut today on the Middle Order. What do you have to say on the pitch that we had for this test match?
Well, firstly, I quite enjoyed it, to be honest. It was a good showing, but I think my lack of experience showed because, in my opinion, I thought Indian wickets were always like that in test series, so it's what I expected. But after I saw some of the statistics and Alistair Cook and Andrew Strauss, what their comments, I realised it was clearly benefiting the Indians more than the English. So turned out to be a bit of a farce, but it was still good viewing.
This is the shortest test match concluded in 2 days in a session since the Second World War. So the modern game, this is the shortest test match. Waqas, what do you have to say about that in terms of how long this game lasted?
I'm really glad you brought that point up. So most people are saying test matches should reach day 4, towards the end of day 4, day 5 as a minimum, right? After this match, right, between matches between the top teams, you know how many of the next 13 games were played in Asia in terms of the shortest matches in that list in the last 5 years? Hazard a guess?
No.
Out of the 13?
7.
Ijaz?
That's not the point, Waqas.
Just
the
give
point
me a
is
quick
it
answer.
happened
Quick
now.
answer, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
Out of those next 13 matches, not a single one was played in Asia of those shortest in the 5 years.
That's got nothing to do with it.
It's got everything to do with it. You're talking about the length of a match. And if this was a bad pitch, then they're all bad pitches, or vice versa. If they're all bad pitches, then fine, I'll accept this.
Yeah,
the point
in
the
1930s, it was a bad pitch.
Yeah,
no, I'm talking about the last 5 years.
And I think what the point you're trying to make Waqas there is that those were maybe green tops where the balls seemed and bounced about. So this is a pitch that favoured the spinners. Those were ones that favoured the seamers. But that I don't think the point I was trying to make is that it doesn't mean that they were good pitches. They were also bad pitches. Ijaz, do you have anything to add on that point that Waqas made?
I don't think it has any relation to this test match because we don't know how long them tests were. They might have been 3.5 days, but this one, wow, 5 sessions, just over 5 sessions. It's a bit like a penalty shootout from end to end.
Okay,
and that's not what Test cricket's all about for me.
Yeah, Shakeel, you're fairly new to the game of cricket. How did you enjoy the game, and do you have any issues with the fact that it finished so early?
No, not really, to be honest. I think, like Ijaz just said there, it's not Test cricket for him. Was it not a test though? To see Root, Stokes, England's top order try and handle the spinners. Like, how often does a test start with 2 spinners opening? I thought it was great.
It was testing.
It was testing. So, what if this
but
is?
It has to be fair. Remember,
a tweet by Mickey Arthur today on that very point. He's saying part of his tweet was Test cricket is a test between the skills of players mentally, physically, and technically. And when it is so much in favour of one skill, it loses its appeal. So this, I think, a fair few pundits have made this point. People who have played the game at test level maybe know a bit more than us, but the fact what they're trying to say is a good test match should be something that tests all disciplines, whereas as Mickey Arthur said in this game, it was one skill and for him it loses its appeal. Waqas, do you have anything to counter that statement by Mickey Arthur?
This is one skill that's rarely tested in Test matches throughout the calendar year. So if you've got 4 or 5 games a year where the ball is turning square, I have absolutely no issue with that. We're testing a specific facet of the game that should be more important than it currently is. In England, nobody plays spin very well because they don't practice against spin. The pitches don't spin. Same with Australia, South Africa to a lesser extent as well. They don't play spin well because they don't practice spin. That's it.
Well, if skill had a factor to play, then why didn't the Indian batsmen come and show how it was done? They didn't have a chance. Virat Kohli didn't have a chance. Pujara, he didn't even get a chance to put up a wall, never mind a fence. I mean, Leach, I think that's the first time he's ever been out in a duck against a spinner. And we've seen so many batsmen getting out first ball, second ball, spinners coming on first, second ball and taking a wicket. So you didn't really have a chance.
Joe Root at the end of the game says it sums up the wicket if I'm getting 5 wickets on there.
Dissed himself.
Well,
but he landed the ball on a spot. It was perfect. He didn't bowl short. He didn't bowl full. He didn't bowl any full tosses. He bowled on the money. Yeah, the ball spun for him.
I'd be surprised if he's taken a 5-for in his life.
That was his first one.
That was his first one. But Michael Clark used to come and take 5-fors in India as well.
Yeah,
it's nothing new.
Probably the same thing.
Well, that's fine.
I think historically,
it's tough on both teams.
Historically, people have always complained about visiting maybe Sri Lanka and India and the fact that, we're playing on these dust bowls and it's not a fair context between bat and ball. But I think the same can be said for when visiting teams come to England and the ball's seaming about and swinging in the air. So Waqas, you mentioned the fact that, it's good to see something, a test match where the spinners are on top and people are tested. Ijaz, do you think it's fair that people are criticising this wicket for the fact that it helped the spinners so much?
Yeah, I mean, there needs to be a balance at the end of the day. I get what you're saying about England playing in England, but a lot of that is dictated by the weather and the climate. So if you get overcast conditions and so forth, and depends what time you're playing. If you're playing August, September, it's going to move a lot. And in relation to that, then the wicket maybe has to be a bit more batting friendly. And if the sun comes out, then it's overly flat. It can be overly flat, so it's harder to get right. Whereas here, I think there's less margin for error. I mean, it was exploding from day one, the ball on impact with the pitch. So it's a bit of a guessing game, and I think it should never be a guessing game.
I'd say these are the fairest type of pitches where the ball is doing something every ball, rather than having to rely on the weather for a good session, or the team batting first gets the advantage, or the team bowling last gets the advantage. This type of wicket is something constantly, so nobody's got an excuse to say, oh, well, that session the ball, it was much easier to bat, or that session it was much easier to bowl. This was pretty constant throughout, and I don't think anybody can argue against that point. We talked about the pitch being bad, but actually the batting was really bad. 21 of the 30 wickets were to straight balls. And I know Ijaz is going to say that's because everything that preceded that was big turners. But those big turners weren't hitting the wickets, flying miles away from the edge. And fine, the batsman can't hit them, but you can't get out to them either.
Were you guys not ripping into Ben Stokes the other day? He got a ball that was on his legs. It was going past leg stump. He played on the line of the ball. And where did it hit? It went and hit off stump. So it turned a mile. So he can't play straight because it's been past his defence. It's going to hit the stumps. And if he plays for the turn, he's going to get bowled again or LBW.
Actually played towards leg. Win. And I was actually saying that was a great ball. And you will get a great ball to get you out sometimes on these wickets. But the real sharp turners, they don't take wickets. And why are people scared of those when all you need to do, play straight, play for the non-turn? What did they used to say about Anil Kumble? Don't play for the spin, just play like he's a medium pacer.
Spin was marginal.
I think Anil Kumble would have turned it on this wicket as well. Anybody could have turned it on this wicket.
So I think
Shakeel on that point, because on that point, because that you mentioned about the straight balls, there was a lot of people also saying it's the ones that turn that put the doubt in people's mind. I mean, when you see a ball ripping from leg stump and missing off stump, and the keeper taking it above his shoulder. It's those balls, because there was a lot of shots that were maybe out of character by a number of people, and It's the fact of the surface that they're playing on. And I think Cook in the studio mentioned that he backs himself to defend in most conditions against most bowlers, but he said he would not know how to tackle this, because when the ball's turning and bouncing that much, you're just waiting for the guy to get you out. So you would go out maybe looking for shots that are out of character. And I'm sure, and you mentioned that guys getting out to scrape balls, but isn't the fact that the balls, what it's done is put that doubt in the batsman's mind, and he's playing shots out of character, Ijaz?
I just think it's really hard to speculate what the ball's going to do. So they can't do anything with any conviction. So they're half-heartedly going at it. Easier said than done for us to say they should play this way, that way. I expect the guys like Joe Root to show a bit more thought process towards it, whereas maybe the less experienced guys, the guys who are used to having things their own way, Johnny Bairstow and that, you can probably question them. But when you see Joe Root, Pujara and co struggling, it begs the question, what is going on?
Just on another point, I think from our earlier discussion, Ijaz and Waqas both agreed on, it was the bowlers cast doubt in the batsman's mind. So would you not just say it was psychological? England clearly have a psychological problem, because some of the batsmen that came out, they weren't playing a straight ball. And, if some of the balls before that, they weren't even turning that much. So I don't know why they weren't playing the straight ball. And then also, when they were going for big heaves or sweeps and slogs, like, they were just poor shots to me. I think they got worried, they panicked, and it's like some of the people in the chat said, like, you'd rather get out going out for a six than defending. But I think they had a good opportunity to keep defending, just kind of grind out the runs. So going for these sweeps and things, I didn't see any point in them, to be honest. I don't think they were going to maybe get a six here and there, but that's it. They'd be out after the...
It takes a lot of balls to come down the wicket, and that's what you needed in this type of wicket. I think
I think it was as much a mental challenge as it was a physical challenge or a batting challenge. And, when there's no pressure on, Rohit Sharma went out in a few shots, but if you have that same mentality throughout the other three innings, I know it's difficult. I'm not saying it's an easy pitch to have that.
There's only
they could have done the same.
Guys that will have that mentality, though. You'll have Joss Butler, you'll have De Villiers, you'll have Rohit Sharma. They'll be willing to lose their wicket and look stupid, and not every player has got that in their locker.
That's fair, but that's the challenge. That's the test match.
No,
wow.
This guy's getting treated like an actual producer.
Right, guys, so we're on the pitch again. Shakeel, would you be happy watching a 3-4 match test series played on pitches like this?
Yeah, I would be.
Okay. So you mentioned that you're looking forward to watching
thrills. That's why.
So you're looking forward to watching guys like Root, Kohli, bat, and do you think it's a fair contest? Are you happy with test matches finishing in 2 days, winners taking 99% of the wickets?
I'm fine with that. Listen, Waqas made a point earlier as well that seamers take the majority of wickets in Australia, England. So what's the problem in spinners dominating Asia? I think, for me personally, 2-3 day test matches, I'd watch them because they're more thrilling. Like, I was captivated. I was meant to be working, but I went into the front room and started watching the game because it was that good. Like, Akshar Patel's first over was brilliant, man. I want to see these contests, and maybe I'm disillusioned because I think these batsmen are better than they actually are, because I think they are good enough to play these type of bowlers. I think Root's got it in his locker, Stokes, I think Goldie's got it in his locker, as does Pujara. I want to see these guys facing the best spinners out there on the toughest wickets.
Guys, I'm going to let you answer that point. A game finishing in 2 days dominated by spinners is viewing.
I don't think it is. I don't think any test match should end in 2 days, 5 sessions.
You want to see lots of runs.
These guys, these are the type of guys that will, just because it's entertaining doesn't mean it's good, doesn't mean it's up to standard. These guys will go out and watch Fast and Furious and go, whoa, what a film, yeah. But it's a trash film. You need to hold it to its standards. And that is a test match. Pitch, I could give you some adjectives for that. It's trash. It's
Actually,
rank.
Okay, so we've got
Fast and Furious says trash.
We've got Waqas and Shakeel saying this is entertainment, and Ijaz calling it trash. A point that Shakeel made, which I'd like to touch on, is the quality of the England batting. Now, this England batting lineup, or the team in general, has been hyped up for a fair bit. Now, the team that's currently playing, we've got Joe Root averaging over 40. You go back 7 years to the England team that played 7 years ago, they had 7 people with an average of over 40 runs in test matches. So are we saying, yeah, the pitch was aiding spin, but maybe the batsmen weren't up to it as well, Lucas?
I mean, it's a shame that the spinning wicket is taking away such distraction from the England batting, because I enjoy an article that rubbishes English batting more than anything else. They came in even to the India series not really performing that well, other than Joe Root's double centuries hid the performance of the other batsmen. And now they've been bowled out for less than 205 innings in a row, which some people say unfair. But guess what? To India in 2014, in England, 5 innings in a row, they didn't make 200. I guess we're calling all those pitches unfair as well.
You look at both teams batting. You don't look at one team batting. That's why
it's unfair on one team. That's the issue. But as this pitch wasn't unfair on one team, it was unfair maybe on both teams.
So it just tells you how shit a pitch it was.
Brilliant, because it was even. That's my point.
It makes it even for both teams. Then,
they may as well play in ice if it's even. It will be same conditions.
Fine, I'm happy to watch the test match in ice as well.
On that point that Waqas has made there, it wasn't a pitch. It wasn't like a 5-day test match where you're batting first, you get the best of the conditions, and the people batting last are screwed and they've lost the game because of the toss. You would say that this pitch was fairly consistent throughout the very short 2 days that it had. Ijaz, so
I agree with that point.
Really, yeah,
that it was fair for both teams. But then again, you look at it, these Indians, they're brought up playing spin. It's their house. There's home advantage, but that's taking the piss. Home advantage should be there to a degree. It's fair enough. See if you get teams like New Zealand versus South Africa, bring them here. Great viewing. That's an even contest.
I'd say the Indian batsmen actually are not used to playing on these types of wickets anymore. They play on flat wickets in the IPL. They play on flat wickets in their local tournaments. When they go abroad, they need to be up for the challenge. So they don't. These types of pitches are not as common, and I think you can see that with the way they've been batting. They've not played that well batting wise, apart from 1 or 2 performances. And while I completely understand that people want test matches to go 5 days, think about the neutral person watching. And a 5-day match, even if it goes down right to the wire, they're only interested in that last 2 sessions. On a pitch like this, they can watch the full test match and be entertained throughout. And I think that's the most important point.
On the point Lucas made, that the pundits out there are saying that this isn't a standard Indian pitch of late, and Yuvraj Singh made a point saying that if not sure that's good for Test cricket, if Anil Kumble and Harbhajan Singh bowled on these kind of wickets, they would have been sitting on 1,800. So it's maybe not historically or even in the modern game what we've seen in India, but there was a point made after the first Test match, that England won, and India were not happy with the way the pitch was prepared. The guy was sacked. They've gone in, they've brought in a new guy to prepare a wicket which favoured them over England. Shakeel, do you think this pitch will be called an unfit pitch for Test cricket, as if it would have been if it was fast bowlers that were getting the ball to bounce and hit batsmen in the head, or because there's no danger involved, do we get rid of that unfit, dangerous side?
Good question, actually. Having watched pretty much the whole day's play, it was spinning like mad, to be honest. But and there were a few that popped up, but I don't know. I don't really know the rules around when you call a pitch unfair or poor or dangerous. I wasn't dangerous. So on that basis, no, you probably wouldn't deem it unfit. Would you maybe, if just on the Ijaz point that it wasn't much of a contest, on that basis, you might deem it poor or whatever they rate it as. But
guys, do you think the match referee should come in and call 100%. This an unfit pitch for Test cricket?
I mean, what a bastie! Their new stadium, 110,000. Wanted to show it off.
130 something.
Yeah, wanted to show it off, and it's a bit of a bastie. I mean, the bigger bastie is they sacked their groundsman from the first game. I mean, what are these guys all about? I'm sorry. I've got
Well, here, would you rather watch the first test or this test?
I'm not
On the-
watching any of this trash, to be honest. I've watched some
You
of
know
it.
they're playing
He
the
would
next
rather
one?
watch matches in Australia which go to the 5th day, even though there's nothing happening
Man,
for
that's
4
just
days,
boring, man.
plodding
It's
along,
boring.
guys bowling,
It's
80, 90 minutes.
context. It builds it up. It's chapter
What
by
you want to see
chapter.
is Rohit Sharma
Read a book.
playing in a flat track, hitting 200, hitting big chicky in a test match. Man, that's not a test. That's just
Listen,
that's,
what
that's
I'm saying is
ideal
it's a
test.
bastie. They're taking the piss now. I've got Indian friends, colleagues, but their cricketing organisation is full of kutte kamine. That's the truth of the matter.
Waqas, what's your reply to these allegations of the BCCI being full of kutte and kamine?
I would say that that's not true. At least not the
Agree with
head.
him, buddy.
And my guy, Dada Saurav Ganguly, he's a legend, and you know he's
Are they not
he's,
run by the BJ party?
Dirty guy.
So you know
absolutely.
what
There's a
they're
lot of
good at?
politics. There's a lot of politics, but that's got nothing to pitch.
How can you call him Tata, man? Just have some shame.
Okay, Waqas, is this pitch unfit for Test cricket, as Ijaz has said?
This was a great pitch. I can't wait to see more of these in the future. I appreciate these in every match. We do need to see them from time to time, and whether that's one series in India every year, absolutely fine with it.
I'll give my 2 pence worth. It was good to watch the ball turning, but I would like to see Test cricket where the batsman is tested, the bowlers are tested, and it's a fair pitch in terms of result. It should be a result pitch. Batsmen should have to work for their runs, but you know, any Tom, Dick, and Harry coming on and rolling his fingers over getting wickets,
Kizzy
maybe
bye. I
not
could
what we
take
want to see.
5 for in that.
Yes, even Ijaz could probably take 5 wickets on that. But there we are, guys. So let's see what the next pitch rolls up. Thank you for tuning in.